know from your 24-hour news source. This is the KCRG TV9 News at Midday.
She's very talented, very smart, very quick, and I think she's going to be respected by all.
This morning, President Donald Trump named his new nominee to be the next U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. He spoke highly of Heather Nauert this morning. ABC's Kenneth Moulton looks at that nomination as well as other staff changes announced today. And a man accused of killing a Cedar Rapids woman, then setting her garage on fire, is expected to plead guilty and find out his sentence. He's due in court at 1:30 today. Timothy Evans, who is 38, is charged with first-degree murder. He is accused of killing 38-year-old Gina Fredrickson. Police say in April he randomly broke into her garage to steal some items. They say he murdered her and then lit her garage on fire to cover it up. And first-degree murder charges carries a mandatory sentence of life in prison with no parole. And a man who posted this Facebook video that you're looking at right here, this Facebook Live video of himself burning children's library books, now faces a criminal mischief charge. 62-year-old Paul Dorr of Orange City complained about the library having the books on lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender topics. He posted the video on October 19th, the first day of Orange City's Gay Pride Festival. Today marks 77 years since the deadly attack on Pearl Harbor off the coast of Hawaii. The attack sparked the U.S. involvement in World War II. On this day, December 7th in 1941, Japan's Imperial Navy attacked the naval base. More than 2,000 Americans died. They also destroyed several U.S. airplanes and battleships. Just one day later, the U.S. declared war against Japan. Democrat Kayla Cater is not giving up her fight to represent Iowa's House District 55. That covers parts of Winneshiek, Fayette, and Clayton counties. She says absentee ballots that weren't counted could change the outcome of the election. Cater lost to Republican Michael Bergen by 9 votes after the recount last week, but 33 absentee ballots weren't counted because they didn't have postmarks. She sued, and a judge agreed to force the county to use postal barcodes to see if the ballots made the cutoff. 29 did. Cater says there will be more hearings in the future to talk about whether or not those ballots will be opened. She says her campaign isn't giving up.
It's incredibly important that when you cast your ballot in good faith and it gets in the mail, that we're able, now that we can validate that, to make sure those voices are heard, because everyone's voices should be heard. And here in rural Iowa, it's just the case that more people are going to need to vote by mail because they don't have an easy access to a voting site.
The Iowa Secretary of State has already certified Michael Bergen as the winner. TV9 reached out to that office for a reaction. It declined to comment. And getting a prescription is getting a whole lot easier and quicker. You don't even have to leave your home to get it in a matter of hours. Plus, doctors give a warning about proper neti pot use after a woman dies from a brain-eating amoeba. Welcome back. Well, it'll be a cold weekend, but there's still a lot going on here in Eastern Iowa. The Gazette's Diana Nolan is here with the best bets. And Diana, there's some things going on to get people in the Christmas spirit this weekend, right?
Oh, absolutely. Starting tonight, we've got Marion's Christmas in the Park, and the activities get underway at 4 o'clock and go until 8. Santa and Mrs. Claus will be arriving on a fire truck, and then I believe they take up residence in the caboose to listen to wish lists. And there's all sorts of activities. There's horse-drawn sleigh rides around the park and activities over at the library, and the merchants are open with their peppermint walks. So lots of fun going on in Uptown Marion.
And then there's puppet films, right? Yeah,
this is something a little different that the Eulenspiegel folks do down in West Liberty every year. In addition to the live puppet shows, they also show a curated set of puppet films, and the person doing the curating is Jim Henson's daughter, Heather. So, you know, from Muppet fame. So that'll be very cool. That is tonight down in West Liberty, and it is geared toward adults, but it's also suitable for teenagers.
Okay, so teenagers can come join that as well.
Yeah, it's just not a little kiddie thing.
So leave the little kiddos at home.
Yeah, take them to the puppet shows later on.
And how about the Holiday Grande?
Oh, yeah, this is wonderful. Jim McDonough has been doing this for a number of years now, and he is a Monticello native, and so the proceeds of all of his holiday concerts that he does on tour go to Camp Courageous, which is a year-round respite facility for folks with disabilities over in Monticello. So he will be at the Paramount Theater in downtown Cedar Rapids Sunday afternoon, and he'll have a 14-piece orchestra and singers and dancers, and of course his beautiful music.
That's him right there.
That
he stopped by the TV9 studio on November 30th, and it was great just to hear from him.
Oh yeah, he's wonderful. So this will be very nice. It's a lovely way to usher in the season or make it part of your annual holiday festivities.
So if you can brave the cold, a lot to do this weekend.
That's right, and it shouldn't be too bad. I mean, our friends in the Weather Lab are saying that it's going to be actually a little bit nicer this weekend.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Diana.
You bet.
As Robert Mueller's investigation into Russia's meddling in the 2016 presidential election ramps up, there's a court deadline looming today. In a company devastated by a massive tornado, right now the former head of the FBI is sitting in the hot seat in Washington, D.C. People for and against Iowa's newest abortion law are making their cases about whether it should stay or be thrown out. And the fear of protests in France is shutting down major tourist attractions and events.
Now, from your 24-hour news source, this is the KCRG TV9 News at Midday.
For joining us. Happening right now in Washington, D.C., former FBI Director James Comey is currently in a closed-door interview with two House committees. House Republicans are questioning Comey on decisions made by the Justice Department during the 2016 presidential election. They argue department officials were biased against Donald Trump as they started to investigate his campaign's ties with Russia. They're also upset Democrat Hillary Clinton was cleared in a separate probe into her email use. House Democrats are in attendance. The interview is expected to last much of the day. President Donald Trump says his legal team has already drafted a rebuttal to any report issued by the special counsel in the Russia investigation. Today, two court filings are due from Robert Mueller's team. They're expected to detail the cooperation of Trump's longtime legal fixer, Michael Cohen. He agreed to plead guilty for violating campaign finance laws and lying to Congress about plans for a Trump Tower project in Moscow. And President Trump is also making big announcements today, including the nomination of this man. He wants William Barr to serve as Attorney General. Barr once served in that very same position under the late President George H.W. Bush. He would replace former AG Jeff Sessions, who was forced out by Trump in November. His other staffing announcement includes Heather Nauert. He wants the former Fox News Channel reporter to serve as the next U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. She will replace the outgoing Nikki Haley, who announced she's stepping down back in October. Both Nauert and Barr must be confirmed by the Senate.
I understand and I anticipate that this will likely be challenged in court.
Those words from Governor Kim Reynolds are back in the forefront this morning. Today, both sides of the abortion debate are in Des Moines courtroom right now for the lawsuit on Iowa's heartbeat law. The law bans abortions once doctors detect a heartbeat. That's as early as 6 weeks, which can be before many women realize they are pregnant. There are exceptions for rape or incest. With the ban on hold, current Iowa law says women can't get an abortion before 20 weeks pregnant. That's a law former Governor Terry Branstad signed last year. Iowa's new law would be the strictest abortion law in the country. But a judge stopped it from taking effect after a lawsuit from Planned Parenthood and the Emma Goldman Clinic. Lawyers applied for a summary judgment, which basically argues the law is so obviously unconstitutional that the judge should strike it down without hearing a trial. They now claim an Iowa Supreme Court striking down a waiting period on abortion shows this limit on abortions is also unconstitutional. Supporters of the law argue the heartbeat law is different and are asking for a full trial.
So that people can hear the facts. And the bottom line is that when an unborn child's heart is beating, she's clearly alive. She's a baby, and her life deserves protection under our law.
Planned Parenthood and the ACLU didn't want to comment on camera because it is an active case. But Planned Parenthood, they did send a statement saying, in part, quote, "The evidence is clear that in places where abortion is banned or heavily restricted, some individuals desperate to end an unwanted pregnancy resort to unsafe methods." The judge is unlikely to issue a ruling today, and both sides are likely to appeal this case all the way to the Supreme Court. Now, here's a comparison of abortion laws across the country. 43 states prohibit after a certain time frame ranging from 20 weeks to the third trimester, generally except when necessary to protect a woman's life or health. 20 states in the country prohibit a partial birth abortion. That is a late-term abortion of a fetus that has already died or is killed before being completely removed from the mother. Now, turning now to the weather, meteorologist Kyle Mara. Now, Kyle, it's gotten pretty cold, and we've also seen some snowflakes flying around this morning.
A little bit of flurry activity, especially the farther north.
And in a TV9 follow-up, 5 months have passed since tornadoes destroyed Vermeer and Pella. Now, executive members are talking about how others can better prepare themselves. Yesterday, they invited people to join them at Polk County Emergency Operations Center to stress the importance of planning.
Team members take it seriously. They go into the shelters when they're supposed to. And on that day specifically, they were in the shelters for almost 30 minutes before the tornado occurred. So that's just that practice makes perfect, and they did a really nice job following through procedures the way they normally should. And we're in that safe spot when that tornado hit.
Now, the biggest thing Vermeer said that went wrong was that they never practiced what happens after the tornado. In new this midday, the Delaware County Sheriff's Office and Iowa's Division of Criminal Investigation are looking into a homicide. Back on November 10th, the Sheriff's Office responded to a 911 medical call at 1722 255th Avenue in Earlville. Authorities say it was in regards to Amy Mullis. Authorities originally considered the case a farm accident. They say she fell and died shortly after arriving at the hospital in Manchester. An autopsy determined she died from a homicide. Her husband, Todd Mullis, says no one was there when it happened. There are no charges in this case. The Sheriff's Office asked anyone with information to give them a call. There's now a second delay in the trial for this man, Cody Brown. He's charged with assault causing bodily injury after he admitted to police he threw his girlfriend to the ground. It happened last June in Marion, outside of her apartment. But 2 days later, 24-year-old Stephanie Bowling died from blunt force trauma to her head. Family members, including Bowling's mother, Trisha Eiler, says they've waited nearly 6 months for prosecutors to file murder charges against Brown. Eiler says it's hard not to talk about her frustrations on the internet.
Oh, I'm just getting very aggravated. It's taking way too long, especially when, I have people that know him that show me pictures of him on social media and he's out partying and having a good time, and here we sit.
Prosecutors would not explain why they've waited so long, but have said they only get one chance and want to make sure they have the evidence. Brown's trial moved from January to May 6th, but one police official told TV9 he expects some new developments after the first of the year. In new this midday, OPEC and its allies announced they're making a major cut in oil production. Starting in January, they'll cut production by 1.2 million barrels a day for 6 months. Other countries that produce oil, like Russia, also agreed to additional cuts of 400,000 barrels a day. The deal should help eliminate an excess oil supply. Right after that announcement this morning, the stock market took a plunge. This is a live look right now at the New York Stock Exchange Big Board. You can see right now it's down by 455 points. Now, fears of more protests in France are closing down some big tourist attractions and events this weekend. ABC's Molly Hunter looks at the recent protests and what's closing down.
Paris is gearing up for another weekend of protests, and the government is ready, shutting down the city's famous.
Enjoy it. Should be pretty nice.
Nicest weekend in 3 weeks, huh?
Yeah, you bet.
Get outside and enjoy. Thanks, Guy. Interstate rivalry heated up on the court in the latest edition of the Cy-Hawk series. The Cyclones traveled to Iowa City to take on the Hawkeyes, and this was a big moment in gameplay when Tyler Cook got his hands on the ball for the putback slam, as you just saw right there, just as the first half wrapped up. Iowa led at the break 45-38. But an exchange of words led to some pushing and some even shoving, as you're seeing right there. One guy's going for the ball. And that even brought the coaches, head coaches Steve Prohm and Fran McCaffrey, on the court twice during the game. Now, this was the second time. At the end of the game, after the Hawks won 98-84, as the seconds ticked down, the pushing and shoving begins, and both teams left the court without shaking hands. After the game, both coaches said they have a lot of respect for each other and emotions can just boil over. The Hawks are off through finals now until they match up for another in-state rivalry. They head to Des Moines for the Hy-Vee Classic to play the UNI Panthers. That's Saturday, December 15th at 6 p.m. on the Big Ten Network. As for the Cyclones, they play this Sunday at 5 p.m. against Southern. That matchup is on Cyclones TV. It's a high school hoops doubleheader tonight with girls, then the boys. The West Branch Bears travel to Cascade to take on the Cougars starting at 6 p.m. tonight. You can catch it all on KCRG 9.2. And there are no new movies hitting wide release at the box office this weekend, and that could be good news for Ralph Breaks the Internet. The movie is expected to be #1 for a third weekend in a row. That would be one of just 4 movies to do this year. Now, there are a few critically acclaimed films that are opening in limited release this weekend. CNN's David Daniel has a look at what's now showing.
Queen Elizabeth, your cousin Mary.
Well, the holidays is a good time of the year to think about reorganizing. Instead of making it a New Year's resolution, why not just do it now? DIY expert and realtor Nate Holler is here with some tips, and you said right now is a good time of the year to create a drop zone?
Yeah, so I think, along with other organization projects that you might want to do at home, and as you're getting decorations in and out, organizing, decluttering, that kind of thing, the drop zone area of a house has become really a good selling point that builders have been incorporating into newer homes in the last several years. But if you live in an older home, you may not have that. So it's a great project to kind of create and just generate a nicer area for coming into the house, for organization of coats and boots and all that stuff.
So it really can go a long way in a household, huh?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's, again, if you have an older house that you don't really have that section of your house, if you've got kids and your stuff is kind of cluttered and everywhere as you're coming in, it not only helps to keep it cleaner and more organized, but just feels better as you're coming in and just kind of generates that feel of organization and of just efficiency.
And how about seasonal decorations? I know this is a time now for people are decorating.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that, again, when you're getting those decorations up, putting them back in January and stuff like that, great time to look at what can I get rid of, what do I not need, what's just cluttering up my house right now. And again, these are things that not only just feel good for your own home, but as you're getting ready to maybe sell the house, a more organized, a cleaner, and a more efficiently run house always looks and feels better as people walk in.
And I know one thing a lot of homeowners, they really think about is paint shutters, just adding or so like that, What should people know about paint shutters?
About like painting your shutters?
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, it come warmer weather, or if we do get good weather this weekend, as we just heard, and if you want to do a project like that, yeah, I mean, I think that, adding shutters, painting them, making them look fresh on the outside of the house, like if you're looking for something outside the house to do, that can definitely have a big impact on the exterior look.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right. Now, and if you have any ideas or questions for our vet or home improvement experts, you can submit those to us through email midday@kcrg.com. Coming up on our Monday, our health expert will join us. Stay with your 24-hour